Welcome back to our course on the Corporate Transparency Act. And we're going to be going over Module 13, Lucky Module 13 right now. And we're going to talk about what I feel is a very dangerous tendency in our country, which is the growing government authoritarianism that I just hope doesn't go any farther, but I don't know. I'm worried. So let's just review right now just how weaponized these government institutions are going to be. I mean, ever since the Patriot Act after 9/11, we've seen this continue to incrementally, step by step. There is going to be more and more and more government oversight and paying attention to what used to be our privacy that was sanctioned by the Constitution. So let's talk about, we've done this in the previous module, but let's just review it here, okay? See what they've done, right? So all these institutions have been weaponized. Look at FinCEN, for example, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network that oversees the entire thing with the Corporate Transparency Act. You see what they're doing? You see how they're looking over our shoulder, and they're co-opting private institutions to do a lot of the grunt work for them. So they're the clearinghouse, but they've got all. It's like they have they're the spider, and the web goes out to different institutions, and that instead of bringing bugs to suck their blood out of, right, like spiders do, they're bringing more information, and then the government will take the action to force us to comply. So look at how they've co-opted. The FBI. FBI now has been tasked to do all of these investigations that, with all these reports, suspicious activity reports, all that information from the banks, from the accountants, from title company, all this stuff is coming into, it starts from FinCEN is the hub, but FBI is going to be the one doing all of that investigating. And there's a new impetus now. There's a new focus. There's a new priority for them to jump in there and don't dilly-dally, but jump in and start doing the investigations. And, with the investigations comes, asset seizures and so on and so forth. So you have much higher chance after CTA of having something like that happen than you did before. And I think that's one of the things we're really going to see as, you give them an inch, they take a mile, that type of thing, right? Look at the IRS. Look at how much money, billions, $80 billion was put into the IRS to upgrade their capabilities, get AI, and, we have, again, just to remind you, the whole point of the Corporate Transparency Act was to get all of us, all of our personal information, all the ownership information of every single thing we have into one big database. Shine that spotlight on it, and get the minions out there to rat us out of stuff that could be completely innocent. That's the whole point, right? You can see how innocent things that are happening can be perverted with too much government oversight, too much attention, too much automation with AI and so forth, and that's a bad recipe. And the theme of this has been, of this course so far, as you can see, how much collateral damage there's going to be that results from this. See how they've weaponized the banks, right? Just to remember back to the module, we talked about this, how that executive from Citibank that said he expects thousands of accounts to be frozen once CTA gets in there, and that the Treasury agents were in there training them on how to do that. Freeze first, send out this suspicious activity report. Money, the FBI gets to work. And so who is going to be the ones that are the innocent victims? It's going to be us, people that are inside the database. Accountants, they're also been tasked to look for suspicious activities and report that. Fiduciary agents, licensed agents whose fiduciary responsibility is to look after our best interests. Now that doesn't exist anymore, because now they got the feds over their shoulder and expecting these types of reports. So title companies, I've already mentioned that, for real estate transactions, they got to report any cash purchases from individuals. That's chilling for me as a real estate investor. And I'm not saying it's going to happen yet, but I do feel like we're on the road. And just as the US took the UK's Corporate Transparency Act as a model to implement here, I fear that what was happening the last couple of years, like in 2022, will happen here much more frequently. And that had to do with in Canada, when you had the Canadian truckers were driving to Ottawa and they were causing a big protest, honking their horns, blocking traffic, and so forth, because they were against some more anti-COVID mandates. And you may or may not remember that. I'd encourage you to go Google it if you haven't. I'm not going to go into great detail here, but what was chilling was the fact that they solved it in a very unique way. Is the government put pressure on financial institutions, banks, credit card companies, and they stopped it because they basically squeezed the oxygen from the protests. They cut off their funds. They froze accounts, they canceled credit cards, and the truckers didn't have any money. That is very chilling. And now that you see how they're co-opting the banks here, and they're getting they're going to be freezing more and more accounts. See where we're going? That's what I fear. And I know there's nothing we can do about that per se. All we can do is try to protect ourselves by legally exempting ourselves from having to be inside this fishbowl, the spotlight on us and so forth. That can at least mitigate a lot of the danger. I'll get in that in a later module, as I've been saying. So at the end of this module, I'm going to repeat myself again. If you had a choice, why would you want to comply with this? If there was a legal way to do it, I'd jump at it. I already did. I urge you to do that as well. When we get that module, you'll see why. In the meantime, I will see you in the next module, and we'll keep going from there.